All right, 2 seconds. I do have where is it gone now? I do have slides that I'm going to share. I want to try and go back really to the beginning of the presentation and try and clarify some points that seem to be like majorly confusing some. And get right down to the nitty-gritty of it, really, sort of like the basics. Now, remember this though. The course was set up there purely for document creation. It wasn't about teaching you law, teaching you equity, going in about like descriptions and stuff like that. Okay. So when I was doing it though, just by going through, it's just as much as a learning curve for me as it was for you. And I'm thinking I need to provide a lot more information than this. Why? That's why we have done the Telegram group, although that's kind of like a good and an evil at the same time. You know, it's causes more questions than anything else sometimes when you look at it. And then, right, I was just thinking, right, well, I have to do more lives, more presentations to really try and get the point across, which is what today's going to be. I'm just going to go and get my calendar and have a look at the dates, and we're going to do a few more of this, and we're going to really break everything down. Now, one of the main reasons, and this has been taking me all week to fix, right? When you saw me on the Saturday, like a week ago tomorrow, and I was trying to edit the document online live, but it was from Google Docs. Now, apparently I can get that sorted so that nobody can alter it online. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to get that put up after I finish this document. I have now took that document, downloaded it, and completely and utterly corrected it, sanitized it, swapped things round on it, so that now it is an extremely, it always was powerful, but it's even more powerful now. And then not only that, but I've corrected all the mistakes that other people had put in. If they had been putting them in by accident or if it was for nefarious reasons, we'll never know. But there was a lot of strange things in there as well, things that should never have been there, things that I hadn't put in there. So, you know, it's kind of very weird. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. I'm just going to go and get my calendar though. So let me go and share the screen, see if I can do it. Now, this is all right. So there's a slideshow. Is that right? Give me a look at that then. Oh, that looks good. Didn't know I could do that. Okay. I have no idea what this picture is here. And if I just press enter to do it. Anyway, I'm just going to get the calendar. So I'm going to check the dates to go and see when's the next day that we're going to do this this next presentation. And we're going to continue doing them. And then I'll tell you about the next stage that you're going to get as well. All for no extra donations. I want absolutely nothing for it. I'm going to build you a complete member website just for you, for all of you to get into, and you'll get all of the everything put in a member website that nobody can mess with apart from you once you've took it out the website. All right. 2 seconds. I'll go get the calendar. All right, so I am back now. Just for a few of you that was a little bit confused, this is a private webinar Okay, and the rest of them that we will do will all be private. Now everything's getting recorded and everything will be put up into that new member site that I'm going to create, as well as getting into the Telegram group. All right. So it's not open, it's not on YouTube, it's not going out like to, you know, multitudes of people. It's purely private for the group that were been there on the Saturday. So give me a look. So we are on the 16th today, which is the Friday. Right, next Saturday, sorry, next Friday, the 23rd. I'm going to do another one. Okay, so I'm going to write that down now. Let's put it on the calendar. Again, it'll be recorded, so if you've got Christmas stuff on, it's fine. I'm not really a Christmas person, right? I mean person properly. I'm going to show you a lot about that tonight. So I'm just going to put Trust Workshop. It'll be 7:30 next Friday, the 23rd, okay? Trust Workshop 7:30. All right, so that's the last one. And I'll probably do it like the week after that. I might miss that week actually and go on to the next. But anyway, so next Friday we'll definitely do it and we'll continue on this series. All right. So in the meantime, well, I have everybody's email. I'm pretty sure that I've got them all. We will be sending out the recordings. We will be sending out, you know, all of the documents when we've changed them and edit them, stop other people attacking our documentation. But then we will get that membership site. All right. It won't cost you anything. You can go on and you can create your own account and get access to everything on that member site. All right. So I'm going to go over these slides. At least I hope I am. I think if I press enter, it might go on to the next one. Fingers crossed. And then once we've gone over the slides, I'm going to go back to the trust deed and show you the sanitized version, the correct version. All of the funny things have been taken out and everything should be working fine. Okay. So this is what this originally was for, the private trust creation and supporting paperwork. All it was for the paperwork. All right. Now, there was different groups of paperwork. We're going to break it down even more, and we're just going to go over it to try and help more. Right. This is going to all be about the trust deed, and then we will do the other documents after. So far, let's see if it works. Oh, okay. I think this is working. So let's go into the beginning then. All right. So we're talking about your straw man. All right. So your straw man or your legal fiction, that is your name in capitals. And this was set up at birth through your birth certificate. So if you look at the birth certificate, the older version, which is the picture in there, is the older version. There is 10 boxes. I think there's 17 boxes in the newer version. Box 10 or box 17 are always empty. There is no entry in there. And the title of that box, it is name given after registration. So on the birth certificate that I have, which is the 10 box one, and it states that the only name that you can see, and it says on there, box 2, name, if any, and it just says Peter, nothing else. I have no middle name, but it doesn't give any surname anywhere whatsoever. All of that is done afterwards, okay? Remember that, which means that that does not belong to you, okay? It does not belong to you. So before I go any further, I'm just going to stop sharing it and I'm just going to have a quick check to see that the sound is going out okay. And then I'm going to come back on. This is going to be a full-on presentation. So we're not going to have any chatting going on, by the way, just so you know that. But right now, let me have a look. I will. Right, attendees can chat. All right, there. So what you want you to do is just to tell me, just put like a thumbs up or say, yes, you can hear me fine before I crack on. All right, sound good, all good, excellent. Okay. All right. So because of this is such a complicated subject. I don't want anyone to get distracted. I'm not being mean. I just I want this to be 100%. And I think it can distract. Okay. All right. So we're going back so everybody can hear fine. So now we're talking about your straw man, and it's a corporate legal fiction. Okay. It's an artificial entity. Stops that there. Okay. It's an artificial entity, but it represents you. You are the living, you are the breathing. All right, man or woman, and you cannot be in their commercial or their legal system. You have to be created as a person. A person is a corporation. A person is a legal fiction. Now, when we're actually doing a trust is a type of a contract. Now, all of your life is contract law. That's all there is to it. So if you go in and as a man or a woman, they cannot speak to you, deal with you, or hear you. They can only deal with another corporation. So this may be weird to some, but all agencies, government agencies of any type, are all corporations. Now, some argue that they're not a for-profit corporation. Some just say it's just set up that way for the ease of it. Makes no difference if it's for profit or not for profit. It's a corporation. It's a dead entity. So they create you as another dead entity. You are literally cloned. But then you think, right, that is you through the indoctrination. And they literally commit a crime called legal entrapment or barratry by convincing you that you are this entity that they are talking to or talking about, which is the capitalized name. That is enticement to slavery, because you are not a person, you are not a citizen, you are you're not. I didn't actually write that part in. You're definitely not a human being, because you are man or woman. That is all. Okay. All right. So your straw man, which is what you're going to use, it's very useful. This is why when I have our lawful notice and demand, and I don't agree with the term correcting your status, because we don't want to correct any status, because we are man and woman. So the only thing that we want to correct is the fact that the government would accept, and the government is a piece of paper, but the entities and agencies that work for the government act, a man or woman acts as government agents to treat us lawfully. Okay. So on the LND, the lawful notice and demand, and it's always saying is that we are alive as per the Seta KV Act 1666, which you requested. They did request. All right. So on there, the Seta KV Act, all we're saying is we are not dead at sea. We are not disappeared. Here we are living. So, but it is a very useful tool to have. We don't want to get rid of it. And the only way that you can change your status is the way that these people talk about it is literally if you go disappear off the planet, all right, or go and live in a field, all right, and eat grass. I don't fancy that much. So I quite like, being warm and stuff like that. So I want to use my person as a tool, as it was meant to be. It is a monopoly piece. Okay. So you, like I said, you're a living, breathing man or woman. You have a soul, all right? But you are donated by your name in lowercase. That is your sui juris. So when you say Peter, it's spelled in lowercase. You'll see a lot of times they'll call it a compact fact, where you will put the colon before the first letter. And some people put a colon, other people put a semicolon after the last letter. So when we have man and woman, we have a son and a daughter. They are not children, because the children is a title. So we do not want to have a title. When you accept it, or at least you don't want a title unless you want to use it for your benefit, I should say. Okay, so there is a big difference between legal and lawful. Now, I'm not saying everything legal is evil or wrong. If it was used correctly and everybody did their job properly, it would be fine. All right. However, a lot of times they don't. Let's see if I can move this. No, I can't move that. Oh, I've changed it over. So here we are. This is your straw man or your legal fiction. It is your monopoly piece on the board of life. And all you need to do is to learn how to use it correctly. You've got to learn how you're going to actually move that that monopoly piece around, okay? So as you would move it around on a monopoly board, you're going to move it around life. And we can use our monopoly piece to create trusts. The trusts must be created, by the way, with a legal fiction. When you deal with the land registry, for instance, because that's what we're going to do, right? You already know that we're going to be dealing with the land registry. Where if you have, you know, it doesn't matter if you've got a mortgage or not. One way or the other, we're going to be dealing with them with one of their forms. You can only deal with them as a legal fiction. They will not deal with anything else. And for it to actually stand up, if you don't write it correctly without the legal fiction, you don't have a trust. Okay, so you got to make sure that we do this correctly. Okay, with our monopoly piece, I think I'll have the dog. So when we're talking about the trusts, we have to take our position correctly, because we don't want them to misconstrue and then try and indoctrinate us to actually think that we are lower than what we are, because we only speak words that are true. We don't speak the truth, because the truth is an opinion. We speak words that are true. So if you look at the totem pole of life, on the totem pole of life, at the very top, which is what we actually have the faith in. We have the faith in nature and nature's creator, the creator. Now, you can call it whatever you like. If you want to give a name to it, like God or Allah or Buddha or anything like that, that's fine. All right. But I like to be the creator, because there is a greater power in the universe, be it whatever it will be. Now, the creator created man and woman. And man and woman, he gave dominion over everything else, or the creator gave dominion over everything else. So what happens is, when man and woman, and they're trying to live together, they need to create a society so that we can try and be at least living with harmony. Okay. So, you know, because man and woman can be extremely violent and vicious and aggressive. So we need to have a society where there are certain rules and regulations, so, you know, we can live in harmony. I think everyone will agree with that. So the man and woman create society. So then through the society, what they've done to help run things, we created the government. So from the government being created by man and woman, right, they actually then create the public servants and the MPs, the clowns in costumes, the councils, which gives you the Agnes in the office, and the good old lockdown lovers. And they are there. This is what is true. This is how life really is. But they don't want you to think like that. They don't want you to know that. This is indoctrination to make you think the opposite way around. You know it in your heart. You can see this and feel this every single day. So this is what they want you to believe. This is what they want you to think of, that the government is at the top. The government is in charge of everything. That's what they want you to think. And then underneath the government, they have, for working for them, they have the public servants, okay, the MPs, and then the councils, and then the clowns in costumes. And then underneath all of them, they think that there's man and woman. Underneath all of them. And then underneath is the creator. So, you know, I don't know if you follow sort of like what goes on. I only follow the money. But when I'm looking at the money, what I do is I actually investigate the things that create the money. So we look at the Committee of 300. The Committee of 300, you should do some research on that. So you'll see that the Committee of 300 tell everything else what to do. All right. Or at least the groups. So, you know, when you're looking at things like the Club of Rome, the WEF, okay, the WHO, right, the Club of the Committee of 300, they are way above all of them groups. All of them groups are just doing their bidding of the Committee of 300. And then above the Committee of 300, you have the certain families or tribes, you know, and above them, apparently, there's beings that probably are not man and woman. However, let's get back. So we're saying, right, that we have them trying to convince us that man and woman are at the bottom of this rung, which brings it all into us trying to protect ourselves and trying to protect ourselves using our tools and the tools that are provided by them. Okay. So whatever it is that we have, we need to protect it. So the best way to protect it is with an expressed private trust. Now, because it's not a statutory trust, because it's not going to be registered with Regis, which is the Crown, which is the Crown Corporation. We don't want it registered. So it is going to be a private trust. So because we don't register it anywhere, there's no record of it that's held by any government agency. So we must express it. We express it so that we can have proof that a trust is actually created and it does exist, and that it is ours to protect us. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to own nothing and control everything. All right. So that's all of your assets, be it your property as in bricks and mortar. But remember, property is anything that is proper to I, that is unique to I and not shared with the community. So, you know, this pen is my private property, proper to I. So I can put this pen into a private trust because it is property. The same reason when we fight debts. A debt is a property and it comes under the Law of Property Act 1925, which is why they need a deed of assignment if somebody pretends that they've actually bought a debt, when they never ever buy any debt. All they ever do is actually buy your data. So you might have heard old Klaus Schwab, Bobby, Satan Claus, and he's telling us that we will own nothing and be happy. We'll own nothing and he'll be very, very happy, where I would prefer to own nothing but control everything. Own nothing and control everything. So what I mean by that is, right, not to have your legal fiction. Remember, we're talking about a legal fiction tied onto any assets. Hang on. I've had some appointments with people today, and because we anyway, I'm allergic, let's just put it that way, to aftershaves, perfumes, anything like that, you know. Hang on. There you go. You don't want to listen to me blow my nose. Forgive me. Okay, at least that proves it's live. All right, so we want to own nothing but control everything. That is what we want to do. So what we're doing is we are protecting our assets from the corporate pirates. All right, corporate pirates. Who would that be? Banks? Anyone that's a mortgage company? Councils, the old councils, my God. Now, I'm not just talking about council tax, and I'm not telling anyone or giving any advice saying don't pay your council tax, don't do this, right? It's up to you, your man and woman. You can make your own choices and your own decisions. But it is unfair the way that these corporations act, and they are all corporate pirates. Now, the rich, the wealthy, they get away with all sorts. Why? Because they own nothing. All right. So today I was we're doing a lot of studying today with a friend of mine who was coming over, and we were going over all the crypto things, looking into crypto, looking where to put things and where we actually think things are going to go in the very near future. You know, so protecting ourselves and looking after finances, going into gold, silver, cryptocurrency, digital land, digital assets, digital investments, because you know this financial crisis that we're running through now, it is going to collapse. Okay, it's been designed to collapse the fiat currency, and this will mean the closure of all the banks, probably at a weekend, all right, over the Saturday and Sunday when nobody's paying attention. And if you haven't made arrangements, you know, to try and protect yourself, you're going to end up in a mess. So part of this is like the asset protection through the private trust, and that's what we're trying to do, right? Taking our name, right, well, not our name, our legal fiction away from the title. Okay. So I don't know how to change this at all. So that the video picture is like hiding what it says in the bottom. It says in the bottom beneficiary. Okay. I don't know if you can see the same picture as me, but here is your trust. All right. Your three-pronged or your triangle. So at the top, you have, you know, on ours anyway, it doesn't matter which way you put it, but, you know, we have the settlor or the grantor or the donor, right? Now, anyone can actually make a donation into a trust, by the way. Somebody can donate property into your trust. It does not have to be you, right? So I've seen massive discussions going on about like a settlor not having the right to put certain property in. Anyone can donate into a trust. They can donate any asset into a trust. And then once it's in the trust, the title holder is then the trustee, a legal fiction. Okay. So, but just bear that in mind when you're like getting like irate about like who's allowed to actually be the settlor. You only really need to put one name down as the settlor, but anybody can be the donor. The grantor, that's just I'm putting it up there because a lot of people were saying that word. All it is, it's a United States version. That's all. It's exactly the same thing, settlor, grantor. But if you ever hear anyone talking about the grantor, that's what they mean. And it's just they've probably done trusts education from the United States. So if you actually get that book, what was it called? The Art of Passing the Buck. I know it's been shared in the groups and everything like that, then, you know, that is very much US based. So you'll see it as grantor. So at the top, we have the settlor or grantor. Then we have the trustee, which is a legal fiction, must be a legal fiction. And then we have the beneficiary. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I can't see it because my video image is there. Maybe yours is the same. But that's the three positions. Okay, so what we're going to do is go over all of the different positions and what they really mean and what you can actually do with them. Okay, and who can be them. Okay, so we have the settlor, grantor, or the donor. All right, settlor, grantor, or donor. Okay. Now, on a lot of trusts, what you will see is that the settlor, let's just call it the settlor. I'm not going to say three words every time. But the settlor is automatically a trustee. So what we generally do is then remove the grantor, the settlor as the trustee and put in our own trustees. Okay. So, but in proper law, right, the settlor is automatically a trustee for most trusts. However, in our private trust, they are the legal fiction. So we are going to make the legal fiction the trustee. So you should appoint at least one other trustee. Okay, so what it says that is that if you are the settlor, you are automatically a trustee, and then you must appoint at least one more. Okay, so you want to appoint a legal fiction. Now remember, like, a legal fiction is a title. That is why we use the term a man or a woman who at times acts as, because a piece of paper, a title, right, cannot do anything because it's a 2D entity. It's dead. It's a corporation. A legal fiction is dead. Okay, so you want to appoint at least one other trustee so that there is someone to administer the trust if you die or become unable to deal with the trust. Ideally, there should be at least 2 additional trustees. So in other words, once you remove yourself as the settlor, let's just say you've put yourself down as the settlor, by law, you're automatically a trustee. But then by putting in, let's just say you have a son who's over 18, Johnny, and you're going to put Johnny down in capital letters as his legal fiction, right? Not the man. Then you're going to put his wife down as well. Okay. Jenny in capitals as the legal fiction. So then you have your 2 trustees, legal fiction trustees. That's what they must be. And then we move on to the other positions. Okay. I hope that makes sense. All right. So the settlor, all right, grantor, donor, whatever it is, but it's the settlor decides how the assets in a trust should be used. This is usually set out in the law expressed by the settlor. The indentures, remember we spoke about them, and that's the big long list of rules, regulations. Okay, and you can add and subtract any of those as you see fit when you are doing your own. And they are laid out in the document called the trust deed. I'm going to show you that tonight, and then I'm going to email it to everyone. Okay, and I am in the middle of creating this membership website, and they will be putting the documents in there as well. So you can download them, and what we'll have is we'll make sure that nobody can edit them until they're taken away from the site. So we're not going to have any of these weird things happening ever again to these documents. Okay. All right. So the next position that we're talking about is the beneficiary. But we have different beneficiaries. We don't just have one beneficiary. Well, there is more beneficiary positions. You might just have one beneficiary, but there is more positions you can fill if you feel the need for it or see a need for it, or if you have people to fill them. So the first one, what we will see, is the primary beneficiary, which is a man or a woman. That is not a legal fiction, okay? But it can be, all right? You can literally make the beneficiary anything you want. You can leave it to a church, for instance, which is an entity. It is a corporation. You can leave it to a cat's home, a dog's home, okay, which would be an entity, a corporation. All right. But a primary beneficiary is a man or a woman or an entity, as I've just mentioned, that may receive trust benefits from a settlor. Right. The primary beneficiary, they're first in line for any benefits of the trust. So when we've wrote ours out, for instance, you put either beneficiary on just saying beneficiary or primary beneficiary. The way that we create the trusts initially, we want it for asset protection for us. So the trust, the settlor will be the man, let's just say the man, Peter, or the man, Fred. Then the trustee is going to be, oh, hang on a second. There you go. Plugged it in. Forgot what I was saying now. I thought I was going to lose my my battery, and instead I've lost my train of thought. But anyway, so like, well, the primary beneficiary, you know, it's going to, well, the way that we set it up is it would be the main beneficiary. We would be the settlor generally, and then the man, if it was Fred was the settlor, then the man Fred, or Fred Henry as we put him down because he has a middle name, would be the beneficiary. Okay, and usually if you can get another entity such as his son or brother, then we would make them as the trustee. Okay, the reason why we would use something else is because we don't have family or anything to help us. Okay, that's why we would do things like create another legal entity like a limited company. Okay, the good thing about having a limited company, a dormant limited company, is you can have a few different directors in it as well. Okay, so say that you made, like, just, it doesn't have to be your name either. Let's just call it, here we go, my glass, Winter is Coming Limited. Winter is Coming Limited. And in there, the directors are yourself, your partner, and your brother, and two siblings, two what do you call them, offspring that are over 18. They are all the directors. Now, because you've got it as a commercial entity, which is the trustee, which many solicitors companies do, by the way, put the solicitor's limited company in as the trustee, but then they have many directors, and then if one of the solicitors who created the trust leaves, dies, moves away, retires, it makes no difference because the directors are all part of that limited company. So it prevents it, the trust that is, prevents it from being what they call a sham trust. Sham, S-H-A-M. So you may hear of sham trusts. And that, doing that there would prevent anything from calling any of your trusts a sham trust by having a limited company as one of the trustees. I mean, you could have it, so you are the settlor, okay, and you are the beneficiary, as in the man or woman, and the trustees could be, you know, either your brother, sister, or one of your sons or daughters who's over 18, you know, and then if you truly didn't trust them fully, you can either put additional trustees in or a trust general manager. If you are doing the trust general manager, some people sometimes call it a principal, right, or a protector, but we've got it written down as a trust general manager, and we always leave it empty, but you can put one in if you wish somebody to look after the trustees. All right. So so as you said, a primary beneficiary is a man or woman or an entity that may receive trust benefits from a settlor because they're first in line for any benefit of the trust. Now, we also have the next in line, which is what we call a second beneficiary, or it also can be known as a contingent beneficiary. Again, that is a man or a woman, but it can be an entity that may receive benefits from a trust after the rights of the primary beneficiary are considered and satisfied, or, right, the secondary beneficiary receives trust benefits only when meeting certain conditions, such as the death of the primary beneficiary. Okay, the primary beneficiary's decision to disclaim their trust, in other words, oh, I don't want all that money or anything, that property, I'm giving it up. So then it would go to the secondary beneficiary. Although I don't really see that happening very often, do you? I wouldn't have thought. Okay, now on to the next. So the next, after the primary beneficiary and then the secondary beneficiary, then we come to the tertiary beneficiary. Okay, tertiary beneficiary. So the term tertiary is from the Latin word tertiarius, or tertiarius, maybe, I don't know, which translates to of a third, i.e. being third in line. Okay, so the word is used to refer to a third order, or a level, or a stage, or a rank, or a designation, as in tertiary education, which follows primary and secondary education levels. All right. So in the case of a trust, then, a tertiary beneficiary is a man or a woman or entity which is entitled to receive trust benefits in the event of the first and the second beneficiaries not being able to do so. It could be through death. Okay. Or they could give it up, like what I was just mentioning before. So that is the three levels of the beneficiaries. So as long as you have like a comprehension of what it is, and that it's going to hopefully take away a lot of confusion. Now, as I said, we're going to do another session next Friday, and I am creating a members website just for you. So, you know, absolutely no extra donations or anything. You can get access to that, and it'll go through stages, and it will be good. I mean, I've seen a lot of the artwork we've already put into it. I've got experts working with me to create these sites and to create these tutorials, you know, so it is going to be good. All right, so the term tertiary is from the letters. I think I've just said that one. Okay, so we'll move on to the trustee. Okay, a trustee is a person or a corporation that holds and administers property or assets for the benefit of a third party. A trustee may be appointed for various purposes, such as in the case of bankruptcy, certain types of retirement plans or pensions. You can even have trust pensions. Did you know that? Or to manage assets in a trust, which is what we're talking about. So trustees are required to make decisions in the beneficiary's interests and have a fiduciary responsibility to them. They have, and this is a legal responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility, meaning that they act in the best interests of the beneficiaries to manage their assets at all times. Okay, which is why we want to talk about the person. Okay. So you have to remember, we are man or woman, created by the Creator and granted dominion over the earth. You are not a person, but you have a person, and you have to learn how to use that tool. And by using the tool, using it for a benefit of a beneficiary, good way of putting it, well, we can use it in a trust. Okay, so this is basically what we're actually looking to try and do. It's the trust creation and support and paperwork. So this is all going into a big jigsaw puzzle. All right. So what we have is our desire to rise above the 3D legal slavery system. All right. We don't want to be tied into the slavery system, but we can make slight use of it. So what we need to do is we need to protect our assets and our loved ones, or at least the assets for the loved ones in the future. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to know thyself. All right. Know thyself. Know that you are man and woman. Now, you can do all the declarations that you like and the affidavits that you like, but unless you truly know that you are from the Creator, standing under the voice of the Creator, then you're not going to get anywhere. That's why, you know, you need to use your higher vision and purpose, right? Use your intuition to know exactly who you are. So what we've created is the documentation to help you with the private trust, but also to actually declare through the lawful notice and demand, and also through the power of attorney in fact, which is just stating that the man or the woman has power of attorney in fact over the legal fiction or the person. That's what the power of attorney in fact is, which accompanies the lawful notice and demand and the security agreement. And the security agreement, using the L&D, the lawful notice and demand, and the power of attorney in fact, declares that all property is of man and not legal fiction. Those three documents together create an affidavit that you can send to the government or to the 7 departments or agencies in the government. And then you ask the man or woman who at times acts as the head of that government agency, so you are dictating it to the man or the woman, you ask them to rebut your points and to argue it, to say that you are not man and woman and that you truly are the person. Now, they can't rebut that, probably because they're too busy, but they can't anyway, because you are man and woman. You are not an ens legis, a legal fiction, a corporation soul, a dead entity. You are not. So if you comprehend private law, an unrebutted affidavit stands as words that are true in law, true in fact. So once we actually have that sent off, and then we send the second affidavit off to give them an extra 7 days, say, for instance, to rebut it, just in case they've forgotten about it, they are now under private law. This affidavit is now a judgment, and that judgment states that you are definitely a man. And then from being the man, that we can set up the actual private trust as the beneficiary to the man or the woman. Right, so I hope that makes sense. Okay, give me 2 seconds. I just need to check the time. Don't want to get carried away with my little old self. All right. So now a lot of these slides you will see when we go into the actual coursework, when I've actually set up the members area for you. And then we are going to take you literally through this jigsaw of how to actually do everything. All right. So it will give you a much better insight into what we're actually supposed to be doing. Okay. Now, what I will do, okay, is go, where am I? Go into now the document that I have sanitized. Let me have a look. There it is. So come back into the Zoom. Oh no, where have I gone now? Okay, let's share the screen again. There we go. Okay, so obviously you recognize what we're doing, but now this has been completely and utterly sanitized. Now I know I spent well over an hour going through this document the other day. But I'm going to fly through it now and see if we can get maybe a few minutes on Q&A and everything, because everyone's probably biting at the bit and shouting at me, you know, but like we have to sort of like, I really want to help you. And because of that, you know, looking at it, you know, I've just thought, and looking at the amount of questions that's coming out, I need to break it down a lot more for everybody. So let's going to go through this document now. I'm going to go through it faster because I've edited quite a bit and I don't need to change it for you. Okay. Now, so it's coming on here. All right. Smithery Private Trust, private trust deed expressed on that date. Okay. It's I am man. Use plain, simple English words. Okay. Whereas, and look at all these capitals. These are all legal fictions. Fred Henry Smith Limited. So we're using the limited company here. You don't know how many directors you've got in. Jenny Jane Smith Limited and Jenny Jane Smith. Okay. All right. So what we're doing is we already know that this trust can be established so that the trustees can distribute the benefits of the trust property to the beneficiaries. We've basically just said that on the presentation. And when we're coming in, look, under D, the inherent and exclusive jurisdiction of this private trust is exclusively in equity and natural law. Okay, we are not in any jurisdiction of common law or admiralty or Roman civil law. So it's a private trust and it's been expressed. Okay, we've been expressing it via our other documents and through the newspaper. which is going to cover us for our certainty of intention, certainty of subject matter, and certainty of objects. Now we will go over that in depth later on, but obviously with the certainty of intention, we must show that we had the intention of creating a trust and that it is the man that has created the trust with the legal fiction as well. The certainty of subject matter, that is the property. You need to at least express property into the trust. And the certainty of objects is who is or who are the beneficiaries. All right. So what we have here, where is it? It's Fred Henry, who at times acts as settlor. Okay, so he is actually creating the trust. He is being the actual settlor. And the private trust, it has the certainty of objects. As the trust defined as a man or woman who at times acts as beneficiary. So an object is a beneficiary. Okay. All right, let's crack on. Let's go down it. So what we want to do is we're going to come into our definitions. These are our indenture, our law. We express the law. We create the law as man and woman. So this is why we have these. Now, this is just a list of them. So I don't need to read every single one of them out to you because there's over 100. And there's 2 or 3 places I just need to actually quickly cover. Okay, so this private trust, what it's going to do, it's going to be expressed verbally on the date that you wrote that in. And a man or woman who at times acts as a settlor, described as a settlor in the schedule. So we're going to say on the schedule who it is. We're also going to say who the trustee is. And we're also going to say who the beneficiaries are. Okay, so we're going to cover those 3 necessities. Then we'll come to the applicable law, which is natural law and equity. Okay, so this goes off. I'm not going to go over every single word because it's just telling you sort of like what everything means from a deed, from the distributable sustenance. You try saying that on a Friday night. Okay, so this is set up as a not-for-profit association and a non-governmental organization. And because it is such, it is outside of income tax because it is not in the jurisdiction of HMRC or any other government agency. Okay, it's not a business trust. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything about business trust. This is just purely for asset protection. All right, this is showing you here. Look, see, you've got secondary beneficiaries, primary beneficiaries. We told you all about that before. All right. Okay, we told you about like the settlor explains who a spouse is, explains who the trustee is. Okay, shows you all of the different meanings in the different words. All right, so once it's actually set up, the period of 12 months ending on the day, a full 12 months that this deed is active. So once it's active, you say, I have a trust. All right, then the trust has to be held for 12 months, and every 12 months you have to do your books. Doesn't mean that you have to send it to anyone or tell anyone. You don't do any auditing. You don't get anyone else to look at it. It's 100% private. But what we're doing is saying that you should be making notes of everything that you do. All right. So coming in, the trustees shall follow the instructions of the man or woman who at times acts as general manager, if indeed one has been appointed. But if no trust general manager exists, and the power is retained by the trustee. Okay, so it's always going to be with the trustee unless you've appointed a trust general manager, which in this case we have not. It's just there available if you feel you need it. Okay. And then this goes over the actual duties of the trustee, or at least some of them. All right, going over all the important parts of the trustee. Okay, again, it talks a lot about the general manager, but only if one has been appointed. Okay, let's keep going down. All right. So you should read through every single one of these. Now, I have corrected all of the weird things that people had put in here. I have taken out a lot. Now, in here, all you'll see now is that when we're talking about the trustees, The trust general manager, there is no protector written in here. There is no principal written in here. It only says trust general manager, but only if you want one. So you have to actually physically yourself write that in once you've actually created the actual deed. Okay. All right. So I think we speed it up till we get a bit more where we need to edit it out. Now, I am going to send this to everyone because this is completely sanitized. All of the weird things that were added in have been taken out. There was loads of full stops put in. We don't want full stops. There was loads of commas put in. There was loads of brackets put in, round brackets and square brackets. It was extremely strange. And there was other sort of like words put in. Okay, so we're coming up here, the assets and acquisitions of the trust. Okay, good. All right, so that's how we're actually going to put them in. Right, the UBIs, which is the units of beneficial interest, the percentages. Okay, the percentages of what you're going to leave to either yourself, your partner, or anyone else that you wish to create as the beneficiaries, with or without you, because you can make a beneficiary. It doesn't have you, by the way. You can create the trust and then put everything in beneficiary to your cat or your sons and daughters, whatever it would be. Okay, so here we go. This is the deed part. Private trust, not dependent on statutory law. A natural law trust is not subject to legislative control. Right, now we are going to work on an affidavit that will support the L&D affidavit that we will send to the HMRC, because we are having people being idiots, like certain other groups, not government groups, but people who are scared of them. Okay, all right. So this private trust was originally expressed verbally on that day between the man Fred Henry and the woman Jenny Jane. Here is the trustees. So we've got Fred Henry Smith, the legal fiction; Jenny Jane Smith, the legal fiction; Fred Henry Smith Limited, another legal fiction; and Jenny Jane Smith Limited, another legal fiction. So on the trustee side, right, if you have the benefit and the pleasure of having very trustworthy sons and daughters or other family members that you could trust with your life and you would put them down as a trustee, then that's who you should use. Always use the legal fiction though, right? You can't write their name down lowercase. Has to be their legal fiction of your brother or your sister or your uncle or your auntie or your son or your daughter or an in-law, somebody that you can trust 100%. Now, if you haven't got that benefit, then you can create the limited company and you can have as many directors of the limited company, which is exactly the way that the solicitors use. So it's not like you're doing anything strange. Okay, but don't get hung up on sort of like this thing about you must have a limited company, and it doesn't have to be your name, by the way. You could literally call it Snow is Falling Limited, although I bet you someone else already has that. All right, so let's go down. So on here, right, I'm only going over this now because this is like absolutely spot on with everything, and this is the one that I'm going to give to everyone. And if you need to change it, you need to change it, like as in if you've already done it. Okay, so in here, look, say trust general manager, if one indeed has been appointed. If no trust general manager exists, then the power is retained by the trustee. That means the trust general manager or the trustee of this, which is the case of the Smithery Private Trust, is the man, Robert John. In this example, it's the adult son. So Fred Henry Smith, or Fred Henry, he is the settlor. Robert John is the trust general manager. Okay, just to show you an example. So let's go on to the equitable assets. When you put them in this part, which is F1, equitable assets with title numbers, you don't have to put the property description. That goes in later. This is just the asset title numbers. Look, PA, which stands for property asset, all right? You can put anything you want, but I mean, it just makes sense to me. 0001, right? Just in case you're going to have a lot of properties. You don't want to start off with just number one, number two. So it makes it look like you're going to have thousands of things. And then hyphen SASPT. Well, I've changed it now because the Smithery Trust, so I can take that out. So it's just SPT, which stands for Smithery Private Trust, which is what this trust name is. Look, see, it's down there, Smithery Private Trust. So PA, property asset, number one, hyphen, Smithery Private Trust, SPT, hyphen, and this is the date it was created, 30th of January, 2020, hyphen, PT for Private Trust. Then the next asset would be number two, and then number 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and so on, in this case, all the way up to 12. Now, all of these have been expressed with the unique Royal Mail tracking number, which you can buy via the Royal Mail, which I did for you. I showed you all of my contact and banking details. And there is the tracking number for the Royal Mail, which it's in the document. It's written in there now, isn't it? And it's written on the other documents as well. And it's on the front of the envelope. And it's on the actual proof of posting. And then it will also be on the proof of receipt and the signature. So that there is your proof and your evidence that you expressed a trust. Now, that covers the intention. The 3 certainties. The first certainty is the certainty of intention. You certainly didn't do all this by a mistake, did you? Create all these numbers and create all of these tracking numbers and then send it to yourself via sign for first class sign for Royal Mail Post, by an accident. Okay, so that certainly covers the expression. Being expressed, I mean the trust. Okay, so any and all property or any nature which has been transferred or reposed into the private trust or acquired by the private trust, including or any and all income, earnings, profits, gains, blah 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 blah, belongs to this private trust. It belongs to the private trust. And who's in charge of it? The trustees. Does that mean it's in your name and somebody can come and steal it from you like a bailiff? Absolutely not. You are protected. That's why we're doing this. The private trust was created and expressed and will be known as the Smithery Private Trust. Right? Appointed a man, Fred Henry, who at times acts as settlor, confirms appointments of Fred Henry Smith Limited, Jenny Jane Smith Limited, Fred Henry Smith, Jenny Jane Smith as trustees. And I think he's also got another one, John James Jones, and they were all trustees. So it tells you then that the appointment of them, they just act in law and that they're bound up to uphold the laws of the trust. Okay. All right. So then you come in. This is where you're going to put the actual the property into it. Right. So these are actually saying who it is. So John Jones James, that is his address. And then he is accepting receipt of the trust property. So it's been assigned to him and it's been given as proof to him that he is now in charge of the property. And there's you've got the duties of the trustees. Okay, so now you've got all of your laws written before, but there's the specific duties of the trustees. Okay, all right. Special provision for special trustees. In the event of a trustee breach, a trustee breaches his duty, or he doesn't do his job right. So there's a different one. Okay, it's Billy Joe Smith, and he will be the special trustee to compel specific performance. In other words, slap the wrists of the trustee that didn't do the job, and then sort it out. So we're coming on to the schedule, the place of settlement. If you can, use a separate address from the one you're putting into trust, but if you can't, don't wet your pants about it. Just use that one. It has to be done. Okay. They've got the name of the trust, the man or woman who at times acts as the primary beneficiary. We tell you that the primary, we're having Fred Henry and Jenny Jane are the primary. The man who at times acts as the secondary beneficiary, that's Joseph James. That's the son of Fred Henry and Jenny Jane, just in case you wanted to know. All right, and then you're going to have the tertiary beneficiary, and we're just going to have to be confirmed because I haven't actually got one at the moment, but you can get one later on. All right, and then we sign it and witness it onto there, and then we're coming up to the assets and acquisitions. This is where you have to put in the description. Okay, you have to actually physically describe it. think I would make that central as well to make it look pretty. So property known as 22 Bridge Street or whatever your address is, under asset title reference number P80001, which is the one that we showed up the top, wasn't it? But now it's showing what it actually means. There's a Ford vehicle, and that's at number 2 asset title, and then there's a little cottage, which is number 3. Then there's a caravan, an Airstream caravan. Oh, I wonder what they are, which is number 4. Then underneath, it's just to make sure that we cover everything. So under there, we've got any other dwelling, building, outbuilding, shed, garage, well, barn, silo, storage, construction, land, interest, or any other description that is in the possession or control of any trustee, beneficiary, agent, or assigned under asset title reference number, and that's near number 5. Now, I was just helping someone today, and they were worried about the vehicle because they hadn't put it in trust correctly. But anyway, written in here, number 6, it's any other vehicle. So it's covered anyway. If you forget to put their name and what do you call it, the actual title number down. Then you got your furniture, any furniture. So look, it's all furniture or a fitting for any room, including living room or lounge, hallway, dining room, kitchen, bedroom, utility room, garden, garage, shed, bathroom, water closet, that is in place or in any way the above premises or simply in the possession or control of any trustee, beneficiary, agent, or assigned under the asset title number 7. Okay, and the same all the way down. Let's make that look neater. All right, and this is, like I said, I wanted to show you it again. Okay, so look, it comes into monies and bank accounts. A lot of people are asking me about it. So we've got it covered here. Any and all monies of all forms, including not limited cash, instruments, which is promissory notes, bank accounts, stocks, shares, pensions, cryptocurrency of any type or description, and all other monetary assets held in the above premises or blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that covers all of your finances. Now, just remember, we were talking about this today as well. You know, we're looking at an impending crash that's been in the planning stage for centuries. Definitely planning on doing it. It's going to be a crash soon. Just because you have all this put into a trust, if the bank's all closed, there's nothing you can do about it, right? So don't go around like leaving gazillions of pounds in banks, because it's not safe. It's probably the worst place in the whole world that you can actually keep them. Okay, so this document, I'll stop sharing it now. Stop share then. This is not looking good.